This video was made possible by 458 Patreon supporters and by our proud sponsor, Displate. For a multitude of reasons, including the ease of viewership, this month's news was split into 3 videos. This one will be specifically focused on the outbreak, another one will be focused on all other news that came out of April, and one released a few days ago was an interesting side story that developed into its own project. As a result, I'll be editing this video, while my much more talented editor, for the first time, will be taking complete control over the regular news. Rest assured, you probably won't notice a difference. With this in mind, let's get started. As it's proven to be impossible to keep up with the stats in real time, here is the total number of cases on the last day of editing. America, not to be outdone, has crushed their competition in terms of confirmed total cases, leaving Spain, Italy, France, and Germany to fight over second place in the European League. China has of course been dominating the world in unreported cases, as despite being the home of patient zero, the nation barely makes it into WatchMojo's top 10 most infected countries. Japan and South Korea, on the other hand, have been absolute champions in terms of reducing the spread, as although they were some of the first countries to report cases, both nations were able to maintain multi-day streaks on no new infections. These nations are, however, likely to remain under lockdown for the foreseeable future, while more effective treatments are being developed. This series rarely reports on good and uplifting news, but lo and fucking behold, we have some to report. The environmental impact of the world shutting down is unsurprisingly very positive, with many experts predicting that this may be the biggest drop in global emissions since the Second World War. The reduction in pollution has even led to a Stanford researcher predicting that this boost to air quality alone will end up saving many more Chinese lives, even when factoring in the reported death toll of the virus. The economy, on the other hand, is less than excellent, with some estimates predicting that the US unemployment rate has risen to a staggering 20%. To prevent the world from falling into Mad Max times, many nations are rolling out stimulus plans designed to both keep the economy from imploding and to help people who have lost their jobs. Japan, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Denmark have all committed to outright covering a percentage of a worker's wage during the quarantine. Alternatively, the United States, Canada, and France are offering cash payments. Both of these solutions are aimed at keeping global spending at a high enough rate to allow companies to keep employing their workers. Although cruise ships have ceased operation, this hasn't stopped essential Navy vessels from business as usual. In mid-April, the United States Navy was heavily criticized after it announced its decision to fire a captain for voicing his concerns over a COVID-19 outbreak on the USS Roosevelt. Captain Brett Crozer went outside of official Navy channels to make his concerns heard, which was seen as a security risk by his superiors. Captain Crozer was said to have overwhelming support from his crew in his actions, as they chanted his name as he was evicted from his ship. Unsurprisingly, several US aircraft carriers have reported outbreaks since the decision to fire Captain Crozer was announced. One of the more interesting phenomenon in times of crisis is how organized crime factions often use the pandemonium as opportunities to improve their relationship with the public. After the Brazilian president's reaction to the crisis was widely received as absolutely fucking idiotic, members of the Brazilian gangs took it upon themselves to enforce lockdown restrictions and deliver supplies to struggling families. Meanwhile, the Italian Mafia has been going door to door in Sicilian towns to provide necessities to those under lockdown and offering low interest loans for struggling businesses. The extra special feature of these loans is that if you miss a payment, you'll get your legs broken, absolutely free of cost. With the lockdown of many countries now finishing its second month, the US president has encouraged many governors to begin reopening the economy. However, many health experts have been at odds with these notions, citing the heightened risk of infection that comes with looser restrictions. One such person to embrace a more relaxed economy was the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, whose campaign video in 2018 was too fucking incredible to not show in its entirety.
I'm Brian Kemp. I'm so conservative. I blow up government spending. I own guns that no one's taking away. My chainsaw's ready to rip up some regulations. I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that. I'm Brian Kemp. If you want a politically incorrect conservative, that's me.
The nation also saw a trend of protesters breaking social distancing guidelines in defiance of the lockdown, and much of this was rooted in underwhelming economic aid for those now facing unemployment and policies they feel to be excessive. Naturally, these demonstrations also attracted counter-protests from healthcare workers, who were quick to point out that 50,000 people in the US have already died from the virus. An unforeseen consequence that has arisen in the global market has been the way in which countries have to purchase supplies from one another. In a functioning economy, it is not usually incentivized to have large stockpiles of supplies for such an occasion, and as a result, many of the smaller nations that have a limited capacity to be self-sufficient are having to bid for supplies they desperately need. Nations in Africa and Latin America have been frequently undercut by wealthier countries, and reports of outright modern piracy between nations have become increasingly more common. The virus has so far been centralized in mainly wealthier nations. However, the World Health Organization has raised serious concerns over its potential impact on less developed countries. One estimate by the United Nations has predicted that between 300,000 and 3 million deaths could yet materialize on the African continent, which is far less equipped to handle this kind of crisis. Notable people who have contracted corona this month include French politician Michel Barnier and Prince Albert of Monaco. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was also released from intensive care after making a full recovery. This has been the outbreak news for April. Viewers who want to know everything else that happened this month can click on one of the cards at the end of the video. But first, here's a story. About a month ago, I was approached by a company called Displate, who wanted to sponsor the channel. To those who don't know, Displate sells magnetic metal prints that you can put up on your wall, which can be easily replaced as often as desired. After agreeing to sponsor this video, they told me to pick out 3 displates of my own. But after looking through the site for 2 fucking hours and witnessing how impressive these designs were, I knew I needed some serious help. That's when I had a brilliant idea. Instead of having to live with my own decisions, I would simply give my closest group of friends the absolute authority of what would be hung above my desk. But by the time the displates arrived, it was clear that I had made a terrible mistake.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
For every displate sold, the company plants a single tree, meaning if it was a competition, Displate would have smashed the team tree's #1 spot 10 times over. Viewers who have better taste than my friends can check out Displate in the description and immediately get a 30% discount applied to their order for the next 7 days. Displate, because style is subjective.